Thanks for staying with us. You're welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. The federal government is doing all within its power to uplift the Nigerian economy. Recently, the Central Bank of Nigeria lifted the foreign exchange restriction on importation of 43 items, assuring of its commitment to boost liquidity in the foreign exchange market. However, this move has been critiqued by local manufacturers and farmers in the country, who have expressed fears that the unbanning of 43 items initially placed on the foreign exchange prohibitive list by the Central Bank of Nigeria is capable of sending many of them out of businesses. This is even as the fall of the Naira is continuing despite the policy by the CBN. In unbanning the items, the CBN stated emphatically that the step was aimed at bringing everyone into the investors and exporters window, INE window, to attract foreign exchange into the economy. Joining us on the morning show now to discuss the impact of the CBN's decision on local manufacturers is Professor Uche Uwaleke, a Nigerian economist and President, Association of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria. Good morning, Prof. Good to have you join us on the morning show today.
Thanks so much. Very good morning to you too.
Thank you indeed. All right, let's go straight into it. We know what the issue has been in the last few days that CBN has unbanned the 43 items that were either not able to access Forex. But now where we are, as you must know, is that local manufacturers are complaining. Many people would think that their complaint is justified, that what can possibly excuse the fact that take cement, for example, and take rice, on the other hand, are those two key areas where we are meant to be having an edge over others. But then we are now encouraging those who are in that space to also queue for Forex. What's your understanding of the policy, the decision by the CBN? Is it even within their purview to be determining what should be imported and what not to be imported? And what do you say to local manufacturers who are saying that we are being stifled? Change the narrative. What's your thought?
Yeah, thanks so much. I think it's important to make this clear that the 43 items were not banned, from being imported into the country. The central bank didn't ban them, couldn't have even done so because that's not within the remit of the central bank. What the central bank did at the time was to restrict access to Forex with respect to the 43 items. I think the question, is why was it put in place in the first instance? You recall that in June 2015, that was when the central bank came up with this circular. The central bank at the time was battling with depleting reserves. Of course, you know that over 90% of our Forex earnings come from one source, that's crude oil sales. So crude oil price was plummeting at the time. You recall that a few months after that, in 2016, the country went into a recession. So there was this liquidity challenge, and the central bank felt that it needed to conserve reserves. That was even the primary objective, to conserve external reserves, using a demand management measure, because that's what it is. And that's, of course, against the backdrop of the fact that the central bank, to a large extent, cannot control the supply of Forex. Central bank doesn't print dollars, and to that extent, one could argue that the supply is really not within the control of the central bank. So at the time, the central bank felt it could use demand management measure to address that, which was why it first came up with 41 items and then later added, I think, milk and maize, 42 and then 43, 43 items. But at the time, again, it was like using one stone to kill two birds. The second aspect, secondary objective, if you like, was also to protect local, manufacturers, local industries, again, in support of the import and substitution policy, of the government. Now, today, what is the situation? A lot of people would argue, and I agree, that the secondary objective of protecting local manufacturers can also be achieved using fiscal measures, using taxes and tariffs. But the primary objective of conserving forex may not be solved by using fiscal measures. So, in my view, I think, yes, further liberalizing the forex market is something that, if you like, is welcome, But again, that depends on a number of conditions. I don't think this is the time really to admit all the 43 items, back to the official, forex market, especially when it was done in one fell swoop. Okay, I had expected that even when we say we are ready to implement such, it should be selective. There are still items there that I think should not be allowed into the official forex market at this time when the liquidity challenge is still present. Items like, for example, private jets, private airlines. I think that's item number 8. Items like toothpick. You have items like kitchen utensils. Even in the euro bonds, looking for more dollars, assessing dollars to be able to put in euro bonds. So I think some of these items could have waited until the forex situation improved. Again, if you look at some items again like palm oil, tomatoes, vegetables, these are things that we can still really produce in this country given the huge resources, whether land, arable land, that we have in the country. So, as I said earlier on, my position on it is that this is really not the time to say we want to admit all of them. Again, given the fact that the liquidity challenge is still there. The primary reason why it was introduced in the first instance is still there, despite the efforts of the central bank over the years to improve supply, such as Naira for Dollar policy, including the ROT 200 program they introduced later. This liquidity challenge is still there, particularly now that it's now open, it's now obvious to everyone that the central bank doesn't have sufficient reserves now to say they want to intervene. Remember the circular they issued. They said the reason for readmitting the items was to converge the rates between the official and the parallel market rates, have some orderliness in the forex markets, improve liquidity and all that. And of course, they also said, central bank also said that it hopes to intervene from time to time. So that is the issue. The issue is, does the central bank, have the muzzle at the moment, to make such intervention? As I tried to say earlier on, particularly now that the matter is now open, that the central bank, has some challenges with respect to reserves. If it were before the central bank published their report, when it was still in the realm of speculation, people weren't sure about the state of the reserves. Maybe that could have helped. But now that it has been made open, which in my view was a mistake on the part of the central bank, publishing those reports at the time they did, because for me it was akin to revealing your arsenal, because that is what was still at the disposal of the central bank to manage the forex, as it were. So in summary, I think this is not the time to say we want to readmit all the 43 items, for obvious reasons that I've just outlined, some of which I've just outlined.
Yeah, thank you very much for clarifying that, because when you opened your sentence, I thought that you were going to say it's a welcome development. Like you heard in Steve's introduction, and also the CBN stating that the step was aimed at bringing everyone into the investors and exporters I&E window to attract foreign exchange into the economy. While we know that this has several impacts, are there any other positives besides what you have said, which is to improve liquidity? We know that one obvious impact is the increased availability of imported goods, and which is what some manufacturers are complaining about, because we do know that we produce a lot of things here in Nigeria. Do we really need imported goods right now in Nigeria?
I was looking at a study that was done by the, a research firm, Analytics Data and Services, Resource Limited, an Ibadan-based research firm. A study they published only 2 days ago, in which they reported that import of the 43 items from across the world, from various parts of the world, into Nigeria, actually dropped by 57% over, the period 2015 to about now, by 57%. But the study also noted that imports actually increased from our neighboring countries. In other words, these items were still coming in from neighboring countries, especially, Benin Republic. That study also came to the conclusion that there is likely going to be an appreciation of the naira in the parallel market, as a result of what has happened, because you should expect that now that the 43 items have been readmitted, demand will now move more to the official market. But the study also noted that there is also likely to be let me be sure now. In the parallel market, you're likely to see the naira appreciated. In the forex, in the official market, okay, because the demand is going to be more there, you're likely to see a depreciation, of the naira by as much as, according to him, according to that study, by as much as 5%. But the important aspect of what the study says is that the appreciation of the naira in the parallel markets, in other words, the naira strengthening there, is going to be conditional. Conditional in the sense that it is going to depend on the extent to which the demand for forex is met adequately at the official window. So that is the crux of the matter. Okay. As long as the queue, the central bank is not able to attend to all those that are on the queue, especially given the backlog of forex demand that we know has yet to be cleared. As long as that is the situation, it will be difficult to say that one expects to see a real convergence of exchange rates. Now look at what has happened. As soon as that announcement was made, you saw that the exchange rate in the parallel market fell. Okay, whereas in the official market we saw some, again some depreciation in the naira. Now there was a move towards convergence, but what has happened now? Now we are also beginning to see that the official exchange rate is lagging, again lagging the parallel market rate, further widening the premium. It was the same scenario that played out when the announcement for unification of exchange rate was made. Recall that after that announcement was made, we saw a convergence of rates between the official and the parallel market rate. But what happened eventually? The rates also began to widen. So it was just the announcement effect. And why does it widen soon after this announcement effect? It is simply because of the fact that the supply side is still very weak. So my argument is we could have waited for us to have a significant improvement in the supply side of forex before opening up our doors, admitting the 43 items. As I said earlier on, now that the information is now public, it's now known to virtually everybody that the central bank is not in a strong position to intervene in the forex market due to insufficient reserves. That is what is making the situation worse, as opposed to the previous situation where the information was just known by a few persons. So the challenge really is, how does the central bank meet the demand? It's one thing to ask people to come and then get forex, access forex. It's also another thing to address the question of where do we even get this forex to give this people. So as long as these people don't also have access to the forex, they will eventually resort to the parallel market. So that is where my fears lie. With respect to local products, this measure, no doubt, will hurt especially companies that have gone into backward integration. A number of companies in Nigeria, following the policy of the central bank, the 4143 items, started backward integration. Now today, I'm sure a number of them would want to, have a rethink, and that is not going to help our local production.
All right. We would like to thank you very much, Professor Uche Uwaleke, President, Association of Capital Market Academics of Nigeria, for enlightening us on this program this morning. Thank you very much indeed.